Sports fans, this is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes here live on this rainy Sunday morning here in Columbus, Ohio, with my man Mossberg of Level Up Sports 10. How you doing this morning, bro?
Man, feeling good, feeling pretty good, man. Like you said, it's a pretty rainy day out there. I was just out there, feel pretty good, but it's rainy. Definitely good to be alive and breathing, and just man, just good to see the screen of what we do on a Sunday morning. Nothing better than coming to this as well. When it rains, it pours, but this is getting away from everything, man. So definitely appreciate what you do and how we do what we do every day.
Well, I know those flowers and that grass out there in my yard is probably like, listen, keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming. I'm trying to get out and see the world. Spring is here, you know what I'm saying? So,
I feel
but
you.
at the same time, it keeps me from being able to go out there and mess with that yard the way I want to when it rains. So, but those flowers and that grass need what it needs.
Oh yeah.
Today's show is sponsored by K&T Good Eats. My man Kevin Bird and his wife, they have a catering business, and you can check them out on Instagram at Kevin J Bird. It's also sponsored by um, Social Nutrition, uh, Healthy Sips and Conversation, right there at 3136 South Hamilton Road. Go over there and get you a nice, nutritious, neutral shake. Also, you can get nice energy teas and things of that nature. I think they got waffles and things of that nature. You can go over there and get whatever you need for your breakfast run, whatever you need for your lunch run. Go over there and support Kendra Hannon right there at Social Nutrition, Healthy Sips and Conversation at 3136 South Hamilton Road, right here in Columbus, Ohio. And this show is also sponsored by my young man, the Chief 5991. You can check him out on Instagram at the Chief 5991 or on TikTok at the Chief 5991. It's scrolling across the bottom. So if you want to check them out, go ahead and check out the bottom and you can get all the information you need on all of our three sponsors that's sponsoring this show this morning. So Mossberg, what's your thoughts on how this college basketball tournament has gone so far and what you saw? Who's been standout players? What are you excited about seeing today?
Man, I get to the other two teams, man. To start off, the standout players and what I've seen out of this tournament, man, it's March Madness. We've seen that. We've seen standout players. Michigan State. We've seen a lot of young players for this Michigan State team. Jace Richardson, his pops played at Michigan State. He's leading his team as his pops did with his team and Mateen Cleaves and those guys to this Final Four, possibly. They're in the Elite Eight. And then you're talking about an Auburn team and Broome, some of those standout players, couple young players, and a young kid, Peta. I want to say his name right. Um, Probably freshman of the year for Auburn, man. I think after his performance last game, I don't know. I know I'm saying this, and Cooper Flag is a freshman. Don't mistake what I'm saying when I say this. I think respectively, I say this, knowing Cooper Flag, All American Freshman of the Year, we know that. But for him to be doing what he's doing, I think respectively, we got to give him a nod in that as well, next to Cooper Flag. Just my opinion. For him to be leading Auburn as well as Broome. And then you talk about Duke and Florida, Cooper Flag, Walter Clayton Jr. I think it's a heavyweight matchup in the title game before the title game. Um, so I'm definitely, man, I just can't wait till the games continue today. And just looking forward to that Florida Duke game. I don't know what it is about that game. Nothing against the other teams, but that game within itself is going to be something special.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned about the freshmen and how a lot really across the country,
Yeah,
freshmen have been balling, but they've always balled out throughout the college game. But I think now we're seeing a lot of you do still got your one and dones,
yeah,
but you're seeing a lot of college players who are playing. And I think now that NIL was here, you don't necessarily have to be one and done. And I think from a lot of Cooper Flag is one and done.
Yeah,
Probably Trey Johnson for Texas is probably going to be one and done. And there's probably a few others out there. But for the majority of the freshmen who have been playing really good basketball this year, we know that they're going to be coming back to the college game next year, more experience, ready to reach the tournament again to make another long run. And I've been very, very impressed with the way these freshmen have been stepping in, giving their teams good minutes
yeah,
uh, every time they get a chance to get on the floor. And it's just awesome to see, man, that these young guys are not scared of the moment. They go out there and they give you what you ask them to give you, and they're doing it night in and night out in this tournament. And
yeah,
I just want to shout those freshmen out for doing such a fabulous job, especially when they're sprinkled around a lot of upperclassmen. They coming out there balling, man, and I enjoy seeing that.
yeah. I agree with you, and I know we have spoke on the freshman and sophomore. I think we looking at a generation of stars, man. When it comes to basketball, even on the football side, these young freshmen and sophomore, regardless of how some portray them to be off field things like that, but for what we able to see with our lens, with our own eyes, is something exceptional. I'm loving it, and I'm not talking about Mickey D's, but I love your coffee, so don't sue me. But I would love to drink it on this stream every day. So appreciate that if you could get it to me, and we appreciate our sponsors as well. But getting back to that, I think this generation we really got to look at and see this is what we'll be looking at 10 years, I say, down the road, and looking at some of these players, and are they going to be greats? Can they lead this next culture in the NBA to something different, something special? As we've been seeing the culture change, could it come back in a different way to where we see some of the physical play, which we've seen in March Madness as well? So shout out to them, as you said as well.
Yeah, cool, cool. Well, let's get into yesterday's action, man. We had number three, Texas Tech 79, and they against number one, Florida 84. What was your thoughts on this game? What was the defining moment in that game for Florida? And what's your thoughts on Florida as a team going into the Final Four?
I think this is a game where Florida, I think they showed their strength, and I would say they've been there before. Having that senior and Clayton Jr., his leadership stepped up. Having a big game, 30 points, he shot 50% from the field, was automatic from the free throw line. His knack to lead his team. I watched him throughout the game, and Hall is a player that's definitely stepped up. You talking about back to back to back threes, and a point in the game where Florida went almost 6 minutes without a bucket. And I think those were big shots, not only by Clayton Jr., but by Hall, for him to be able to step up and make those shots, as well as the coaching. He rotated his bigs instead of keeping those bigs in, went with the three guard lineup and Richards, and that made that difference maker. And five for Richards. He haven't really had that big breakout game, but defensively, he's a big piece of what Florida do, as well as offensively. And I mean, every aspect that Florida played that last 4.5 minute stretch, you couldn't ask for more with the senior leadership and overall play. And shout out to Texas Tech topping. I mean, the way they play physical is in the text talking about it. They definitely was changing the game from a physical standpoint and an athletic standpoint. But like we said, Florida and that senior leadership, you know, they they putting it all on the line. And shout out to the coach, man, doing a great job with the Florida team that no one spoke about. And I can recall people, I said Florida is a team to watch out for, and they respectively got that one seed, and they're proving it. And I have the Florida Gators winning over Duke, and I have them winning the NCAA tournament, and that's the first one, and that's the only one I'm gonna get y'all. So Florida winning it all. That's just my opinion. So they're definitely a tough out.
Man, that game, yesterday we talked about this and we talked about uh, if this game was in the 80s and it was close,
Yeah,
who would be the person that would make them shots down the stretch? And of course, Parlay Poe was like Clayton Jr. Man, he got ice water in his veins, bro. He want to take that shot,
yeah,
and you see them down by 9. I think they was down by 9, and you see Hall hit two, and then you hit Clayton. Clayton Jr. hits one, gets back in the game, and then Clayton Jr. knocks down another one, man, to give him a 1 point lead. And it's like this dude was like he was a prophet. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
He
Definitely
catch that thing, man, right down to the T,
right
man,
to
and
the
it happened exactly how he said it would.
Yeah,
Basketball is a game of runs, man, but when those runs happen late in games, when you make your run, you got to be aware that the other team got another run in them too.
yeah.
Unless there's no time on the clock, they got another run in them. And Florida made their run, and Texas Tech wasn't able to make another run. Then they just shot free throws all the way on down the stretch to win it by 5. I think it was in that game, 79-84 win by Florida. But for those players, like you said, to be able to fight all game, Florida fought all game in this game. They didn't play well in stretches during the game. Then they went on a spurt where they didn't score for 6 minutes. I think they might have had a free throw or two, but to be able to muster up what they did at the end of that game and then to win it at the free throw line really shows that senior leadership is what you need on your ball club, or at least upperclassmen leadership. So in games like that, you got a guy that you can go to, and Clayton Jr. definitely did his thing in that game, man.
for sure.
For
Yeah.
Florida.
Shout out to
What?
Parlay Poe, man, too, man. Like
Yeah,
he caught it right on point, and I went back and I think I watched that video like 3 or 4 times, and I mean he caught it right on point, and I'm like, this is what Parlay said. He said that he had ice water in his veins, and just seeing the 30 balls, we've seen them from quite a few superstars, and we about to get to one.
yeah, for sure. What was your thoughts on this number 2 Alabama 65, number 1 Duke 85? What was it about Alabama that they just couldn't get anything going, or was that more because of what Duke was doing?
I think it's really Duke's defensive, the way they play defensively, but they coming at you in so many ways. They got probably one of the longest teams. Their length is a different phase. When you got 7-2 down low, that's tough to try to come at, and then you got the length on the perimeter. And Duke is a team that they look for your flaw. They know that you not gonna try nothing low. They want to try to stop you from shooting that three. And Alabama, I don't know if they ran out of threes, in the prior game, but Duke is just that tough defensively. They stretch you out, out there to that half court if you like to shoot the three to try to keep you from shooting it, and then push you towards that paint to try to drive to a 7 footer, which is tough. So, just my opinion, that defense is definitely tough for Duke.
Yeah, they made life hell for Sears, man. Their length, like you said, their length made it very, very tough for Sears to do what he wanted to do. And whenever you see a guy go off like he did in that game before,
Yeah,
you automatically know that a team like Duke is not going to let you get that off. They're going to make sure that they use their length to keep you from being able to do any of those things. Even a couple of times on switches, Cooper Flag was on him, and I was like, you might as well pass the ball, bro, because for one, if you get around him, his length is going to go ahead and swat the ball. Uh, he's going to block your shot, and I think he might have did that once or twice too.
yeah,
So
definitely.
they made life tough for Sears, for really all of those small guards, man. The guy had to shoot a really deep three in order to get that one off,
Yeah,
but you can't do that all game shooting from that range. So Duke, I think to me, if they do meet Florida, it's going to be a really good contest because Clayton can get to that cup, and he has a strong body too, man.
yeah,
So he could probably shield off those blockers trying to get his shot once he gets to the cup. But I think this Duke team is very, very, very dangerous. And if they win it all, I mean, it would be no shot. That's
yeah,
for sure.
definitely. And then just thinking of like Knipple, Proctor, it's the other guys for Duke, man, that really like keep me thinking that this Duke team got a total different gear that we really haven't seen. If you realize they didn't really go deep into their bench until late in the second half when they got up to almost 20. They may have made a couple subs here and there, but they really didn't go into their bench like they did. They wanted to stand stout, show this Alabama team, we're going to bust your head. And I mean, this is what they did, man. I think they're a tough team, 6'7" across the board, with Proctor. I call him Cooper Nipple, even though it's Knipple. I like that name, little nickname for him. But that length is a difference maker, and they can play, man. They definitely can play and shoot the ball, and they shooting the ball very well, which is scary. When Duke's shooting the three well, I think that's probably one of the scariest things because you're really not expecting them to shoot the three all the time. But if they let it go and they hitting, it's scary. And as we've seen out the last couple of games, they definitely hitting that three ball.
Yeah, they tough no matter who they put on the floor, man. They got guys that can go. Even their big man's gonna get them buckets, even though
Yeah,
they don't throw it down there in the paint and let them work. I mean, but when they drive, they lob that sucker, man. And they get offensive
get it.
rebounds, putbacks, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So that team is dangerous, man, dangerous. So today's action, we got number 2 Tennessee versus number 1 Houston. What's your thoughts on this game, man? Is this probably the best game of the day? What's the difference in this game for you and the team that you think's gonna win?
I think the reason I'm gonna like this game is because you're looking at LJ Cryer and Ziegler, two seniors that's really led their teams. I think to monumental feats, throughout their careers, and they both want to get their team to that next level, inching closer to what we all play for. We all come to college basketball to get that national championship, of course, respectively, and I think they both do for at least an appearance or so. So they plan for that respectively, but I think it's going to come down to Lanier. What is Lanier going to do today? Is he going to be able to shoot well? If you think about up until this point, every player on these teams we've talked about respectively have had their one shining moment. We looking for Lanier to have that one shining moment, and could it be today's game to have that one shining moment? So, for me, I'm looking out of Tennessee to get him the ball in whichever way they have to for Lanier to step up and grind this game out. But for Houston, LJ Cryer haven't had the 30 ball. So that's something to look at respectively. And could he show up and show out? So, all eyes are on this Houston team. I think they're very strong enough to do it, but I think, we talk our SEC talk, and I'm gonna just, Tennessee SEC. Even though they got my boys, I'm gonna have to roll with Tennessee in this one. I just think with that senior leadership and that size and Ziegler the way he played last game, I think he come in with a little bit of momentum. Even though I didn't like the way he did what he did last prior to the game, but hey, we gamers and that's what it is sometimes. So definitely got to see.
Tennessee defensively, man, they play defense and they play defense and they play defense and they play defense. They don't have laws where they don't play aggressive and tough defense. And I'm thinking that's going to be the difference in the game for me anyway, with Tennessee winning it. Probably being the only non-one seed to make it to the Final Four. I think it's going to be this Tennessee team. And I think, like you said, the senior leadership of Ziegler has really been key for them down the stretch, even in the SEC tournament and now in the March Madness tournament. His play, his being able to dictate the pace of the game for his team offensively, and then still playing really good aggressive defense on the other end of the
Right.
court against whoever it is he's guarding. Even though he's a smaller guy, he's always going to be where he needs to be
Yeah,
in terms of guarding the guy that he's guarding.
agree.
He's not going to have those instances where he leaves a guy wide open for threes or allow a guy to get to the cup easily. So I'm thinking Tennessee defensively is going to be a really tough matchup for Houston, and I think they're going to pull out the victory. It's going to be less than double figures, but it's going to be a good victory for Tennessee in preparation for the Final Four.
Agree.
What's your thoughts on that number 2 Michigan State team versus number 1 Auburn.
This the one I'm looking forward to. Um, you talking about? I don't even. I know we talking about Auburn. You got to talk about Broome, but I think it's gonna come down to these two left-handed freshmen in this game. I think we talking about two guards that got NBA talent. I mean, they could leave after next year, But I think the way Izzo, you talking Pearl, you talking about two classical coaches, respectively Hall of Famers, greats, legends, and boy, I tell you, this is going to be a thriller. Um, as in a Duke Florida game, we could be looking at another championship game before the championship. Um, I think this is going to come down to the guard play. Um, I think the bigs for Michigan State would be enough, and Izzo the way he coach to go at Broome, and I think it's going to definitely come down to the way these guard play. Because last game, the guard for Auburn had a great game. Freshman guard played well, and I think Richardson he played well also. But I think with them two playing the way they playing, I think they separate in this game with the guard play for sure.
Yeah, Jace Richardson, that was the first time I seen him play. And I'm thinking, wow, his father, who was Jason Richardson, who played um, at Michigan State back when they were making their run through the tournament.
Yeah,
Um, and then for his son to go to Michigan State, I was like, had Izzo probably not still been the coach, would he have still gone there? Because you see so many
mm,
former great players in college who went on to the NBA and played really well in the NBA. They got their sons coming up now who are reaching college, and will their son end up following in their footsteps going to the school that they went to? Like Gilbert Arenas' son, do you think he's going to go to Arizona? Because the coach that they had at Arizona is not there.
right.
Arizona isn't. I mean, even though they've been good, are they still the program they were back when he was there when they won the championship? Then you got Carmelo Anthony's son. You got all these guys who, well, of course, LeBron James never went to college, so his sons are going wherever. And I think his son is going to Arizona, right, Bryce?
Yep, Bryce going to Arizona.
Yeah,
Gilbert Arenas' son, the last time I checked, was USC. Only one following the same footsteps so far is Melo's son. He's going to
he's
Syracuse.
going to Syracuse, right? Yeah. So, that's just interesting to think about. But back to this Michigan State matchup with Auburn. Like you said earlier, man, the guard play, and this has been our knock on Auburn all season.
Yeah,
Their guards haven't been consistent in games. Broome is going to do what he's going to do, but what are the guards going to do in this tournament? Though these guards have been solid. They've been solid, and
yeah.
I don't expect them not to be solid again. Even though they got a big challenge trying to guard that Jace Richardson and then the other kid who's
AK.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah, they got some tough challenges against them, but on the offensive end, they got to give it to them the same way that these Michigan State guards are going to try to give it to the Auburn guards. You got to be able to go tap for tap, not in the sense of you got to be if they score, you got to score. You
right.
just got to play solid basketball, make good decisions, just like they're going to be trying to make good decisions.
Yeah, I
But,
agree.
in a matchup like this, though, Izzo to us, he's the man, bro. He can coach his tail off.
Yeah,
And we know that he's gonna coach his tail off. And if they have
yes,
an instance where Broome is the only one giving them production over a 6, 8 minute period of time, Michigan State gonna mess around and whoop you, man. So
yeah,
they gonna need to have balance in this game in order to beat Michigan State. Because Michigan State is gonna be well coached.
I agree.
Well coached. They're not gonna make a bunch of mistakes.
Yeah,
But I'm still taking Auburn, and they'll be the other number one seed that'll make it to the Final Four, in my opinion. Uh, they'll be the third one, and I think Tennessee is going to win that other game. Um, as far as this NCAA tournament is coming to an end,
yeah.
I
And
wanted
this,
to ask you this question, and anybody in the chat, I want y'all to, if y'all been watching college basketball, I want y'all to put in the chat the number you think on a scale of 1 to 10.
Mhm.
How would you rate the referee? And of course, 10 being the highest. and they've been doing fantastic. Give them a 10. But if not, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate the refereeing so far in this tournament?
I'm a I'm gonna say a good eight. I'm gonna say a good eight. And the reason I say an eight is because watching the games last night, I won't lie, they was letting them boys play. They was letting them play. And as a former athlete, you want the refs to let you play. That's advantage you know you got to come out of that. You got to figure out what's going on. And they've missed some calls, of course. That happens throughout the game. When you referee, but I give it an eight. I mean, some calls has been tough. I like the reviews. I like the reviews we've been able to have and the key moments. I think it's going to be some maybe a few adjustments to that, but overall, I give it an eight. I just stick with an eight. They letting them play. They letting them get physical, and you can't ask for nothing better than that. And you got to adjust to that as a team and as a coach.
Yeah, I agree that I'll give them an 8 as well because I think the refereeing in college basketball has been, even though they have some instances where they miss a call here and there, but that's to be
Yeah,
expected because refereeing is tough, man. It's not
right.
an easy job to do, but it's way better than that daggone college football. That's for sure.
For sure.
College
For
football
sure.
is horrible, man.
Man,
I'm gonna give them an 8 because outside of that Arkansas St. John's game, I think the refereeing has been
pretty
very
good.
consistent. It hasn't been bad at all. Even though if you sit next to me while I'm watching the game, the team I want to win, I swear that they ain't getting fouls and
Right.
they're calling some fouls on them. But that ain't really the truth. That's just me rooting for whoever I'm rooting for at that time, wanting them to get
Yeah.
all the calls. But
Mhm.
overall, it's been fair, it's been equal, it's been solid, man. And I think I'll give them an 8 as well.
I agree.
Have you seen great coaching during this tournament and by who?
Man, that is. I mean, you name it. You got Tom Izzo. You got Bruce Pearl. I can't think of Florida's coach right off the back. You got John Shire, former Final Four. If I'm not mistaken, he did win a championship at Duke as well. So you got quite a group of coaches here. So not to mention the coaches that's not in the tournament, those respective teams. First year coaches, former, players for their schools, first year coaches bringing schools from the bottom advancing to the Sweet 16 like Parlay Post team did. I mean, there's just so many different coaches out there. Um, I like this Florida coach, this Florida and Duke coach for some reason, Shire, and I can't remember Florida's coach's name for some odd reason. I haven't really looked much into him, but just watch how he's done things with this team and brought them from in the middle of the pack to where they're at right now in this tournament. Nobody really even had Florida as a number one seed, let alone being where they're at. So I think respectfully, every team is where they're at ranked, but this Florida team, nobody had them as a number one seed being where they're at. So I think he might be that coach right now.
Yeah, I've seen some good coaching, man, and Michigan's coach against Texas A&M, that coaching job he did in that game was exceptional. Now I expect for Florida's coach, Duke's coach, because of the talent they got to
Yeah,
be able to coach those guys. But in terms of teams that you didn't expect to probably win certain games, that coaching job that Michigan coach did was good. Maryland's coach did a really good job.
yeah, the young
UConn's coach, I mean, even though UConn had some stumbles during the season, but in this tournament, they played really good ball. They had a chance to beat Florida, and I would give him a shout out. Hurley,
yeah,
he coached really well. I'm quite sure there's some others that I'm missing, but I was impressed with some of those teams who you didn't expect to be where they were to be able to get there, man, because of their coaching job that their team or their coach did for them. So I
yeah,
was impressed with that for sure.
yeah. Salute,
Salute to
man.
you, post game.
Great you
Uh,
watching as well, man.
yeah, they pitched well. They pitched your YouTube channel in our chat. So I'm gonna make sure that I subscribe to it. I wasn't for sure if it was you or not because I was asking, is that him?
Yeah.
I think Polar Bear said yep, but I didn't know if he was saying yep to the question before or if he was
Right.
saying yep to that. So
We
we
be having
definitely
a lot going on in the chat too.
yeah subscribe to your channel. I like the way it looks, bro. Like the way it looks.
Yes, sir.
No, I did that one already. Why is there more than 1,000 college basketball players in the transfer portal? What's going on with that?
Man, they trying to get the next best contract before the NBA season starts. I don't know. It's crazy. I think it was at a. I think the next day we was talking in the chat. It was at over 1,000 or something like 1,100. Um, I just think that it's the landscape of basketball. It's the landscape of sports. You allow things to happen. They gonna take advantage of it. Thinking if I'm 18 years old and I can't go right to a D1 college, if you giving me eligibility to play basketball and I could play all these years or whatnot and transfer, if some of these people they looking for certain things, so I get that part of it. I get that aspect of it now, and you moving to make money. You moving like R.J. Lewis. He's preparing himself for the draft, but then you got his eligibility still available. He gonna see what he worth, and then if that nil money talking, he gonna come back and transfer and play on the championship caliber team that can make a run. I respect that in ways of that's just the culture now. We can't. I'm starting to understand it. It's just the culture. It's the way things are changing, and it's like how we adapt to the things in the world. That's just how things are. You have to adapt, and if it's not fitting you, we don't know what he going through. So we respect everything you do. So it's crazy, but it's just what it is. They want that bread.
Yeah. Post game said Hoopers want better situations and want that bankroll. There's been parity in basketball. Now, of course, the big schools are always going to be at the top. But, I mean, just take Steph Curry, for instance. This guy was at Davidson, had a good run in the NCAA tournament against some Giants. And then now you see what he's doing in the NBA.
Yeah,
You got guys from smaller universities, man, who are balling out. Their goal, I mean, let's just take Sears for instance. He spent 2 years at OU, which is what 70 miles up the road on
right.
33 from Columbus, and now he's at Alabama balling. If I'm a young player and I'm playing at one of those institutions in the MAC or any of those other conferences, my goal is to get to the ACC. My goal is to get to the Big 12. My goal is to get to the SEC. My goal is to get to the Big Ten. You got 5 years to do that. You have an opportunity to make some money if you do what you need to do on that basketball court. I don't blame if it was 2,000 of those players in the
That
portal.
portal.
I would be cool with that because the reality is teams like Texas, Oklahoma, teams like that, they're trying to win a national championship and they're not really basketball schools to that sense.
Yeah,
But they're trying to become that because there's so much freaking money out there that they want to try to make it to the Final Four, uh, in the championship game and win it all.
yeah,
So I know that they're going to be looking for players coming from smaller schools that can really ball out because there's a lot of them
yeah.
that's out there that can play, man. I mean, we seen FIU go to the what? They went to the Final Four last year,
Sure. Yeah,
you know? So I'm quite sure some of them players got picked up by somebody that's at one of the top schools in the country.
for
So
sure.
I'm glad that they're doing that. Go get that money because it's out there for you to get to help yourself, help your family, especially if you're not going to have an NBA career, man, because there's only so many spots on the NBA roster. I mean, they got the G League, but that's filling up too.
Man. And I'm like, I'll be calling my boys, calling my people like, hey bro, come over here with me. man, we could do some damage. Like I get it. It's understandable now when you just I'm waiting to see what team gonna put that mega three, that mega four. You got four, all them all Americans on one team, and y'all playing together for maybe 1 or 2 years, just for the bigger prize. It's for something special. I think you're gonna see that happen too. Um, it's just a lot of things we be talking about, man. So I would definitely love to see something like that happen. It could change the landscape of basketball. And I'm watching more college basketball, college sports than anything right now.
Yeah, and I mean when you think about it, you got guys who are their coaches are leaving.
Yeah,
You came to that university to necessarily, to play for that coach, and so now that coach leaves, you jump in the portal, but you might not necessarily go where that coach is,
right.
but you leave it like let's take Xavier for example. Their coach gets hired at Texas.
Yeah,
They might not want to go that far. They might not, because I think he had two or three guys that have already jumped into the portal. The kid from here in Columbus, Dylan Swain, he jumped in the portal. And
yeah.
then the good guard, Cromwell, is that his name?
Conwell, yep, Conwell.
Cromwell, he jumped in the portal. Now Cromwell he might end up in
Go.
Texas.
He can
He
go.
might end up in Texas,
That
yeah.
boy could
I
play.
don't know if Swain gonna go that far, but if Swain, if I'm him and I'm his parents, I'm saying, listen, you can go to Ohio State, bro. I mean, your backyard, we can see you play all your home games.
We want to see you play, man. We want to see you come home, man. Come on home, man. Hopefully we don't get in trouble for it, man. Come on home, man. Shout out to the kid from Columbus, man.
Yeah, but coaches are about to start moving. When this tournament is over, coaches are about to start moving because there's already been a few coaches who have got fired already.
Yeah,
Coaches are going to be moving. Like I mean, Texas Tech was just in the Elite Eight.
they fired.
You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy.
Texas A&M's coach is thinking about trying to go somewhere else too. So you're gonna see some movement, man, and you can probably see even more players hit the portal.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Lewis Jr. from St. John's? Declare for the NFL first, and then, of course, saying that he ain't going to hire an agent. He probably already got an agent because he probably getting NIL money, and
Yeah.
or possibly coming back to college. Talk about those two things. Give me your thoughts on those two.
Um, his agent, I believe, is Rock Nation. So I think he testing the waters. I mean, I think it's smart. I think you know Big East Player of the Year respectively get benched the way he got benched. I think the whole world was on notice with that. I think that hurt a lot coming into the program possibly next year. You know, respectively who you are as a coach, Hall of Famer, but something you just don't do. You got to let him play through that. He the Big East Player of the Year for a reason. He's got you this far, so let him go through that shooting slump, get out of it some way, somehow. Let him lead as a senior. So I think it's a great thing. Test the waters, see what you worth, come back. Anybody gonna want you, R.J. Lewis. You tell me you coming back to college, they're gonna roll the red carpet out and offers. It's just what are you gonna give that program? Are you gonna give them what you need to give them in order to be that next, draft pick the following year coming out? So that's just my thing. I want you to come if you don't go to the NBA, just be that RJ Lewis. Because when you shooting well, it's a great thing for basketball, college basketball. We just know the caliber player you are. I was hurting when I couldn't see him hitting nothing. So I like when he hitting because they're a different team, and of course he's just a different player, of course. But I just want the best for him in that situation overall.
Yeah, I want to see him come back for one, for another year.
Yeah,
I would like to see him go possibly to a Big 12 team or even an ACC team. I don't want to see him go in the Big 10. I don't want to see him go there. Their style of play is a little bit different,
yeah,
and I don't think the Big 10 style of play fits his game. I think he should come back for another year because I think he has good upside,
yeah,
but I don't think he's a, a 2 round pick for the NBA. I don't think somebody might get him. Somebody might pick him up free agency. Um, and put him in the G League. But I think he should play one more year college ball, go to a school in one of those three conferences outside of the Big Ten, um, and go ahead and do his thing and improve his stock because I think next year he could really be in get picked in one of the first 2 rounds of because it's only 2 rounds.
Yeah,
I think he could be a top 2 round pick next year, but I don't think he should do it this year. Especially the way it ended for him. Um, and then Rick Pitino was a great coach, man. He's a great coach. He got skills on the wall. We know what he's done in the past, but you also got to understand you're dealing with a different generation of player, and they don't have to take the stuff that players back in the day had to take. You know what I'm saying? He ain't got to sit out a year if he
yeah,
transfer. Most players gonna take that crap because they can they know they can't afford to sit out a year. They
yeah,
can't miss a year of ball.
right,
And now that's not the case. So you got to understand the dynamic of what you're dealing with these younger people when you're coaching them, and you got to understand it in a situation like that. You let that man work through that because nobody was making shots for you. So why put your best player on your team?
on the
That
bench.
doesn't make no sense to me, man. So
You
you
got,
already know that that's going to affect him,
uh,
his thinking, his psyche. You should have never done that to that young man, in my opinion. But I ain't the coach. I ain't getting paid millions of dollars to make that decision. But
right,
I ain't making no money coaching, and I wouldn't have made that decision.
yeah, and I was just thinking it's crazy. He would fit perfectly with Syracuse. That's crazy because Syracuse when they get them transfers in, and that's that length. He played good in that zone, and he had to work on his jump shot. I forget who the coach is over there now, but just something to think about. Look at man.
Yeah. So as this tournament is about to wrap up, and we're gonna crown a champion, who do you see next year? Well, it's gonna be a lot of movement, but it might be hard to answer this question. Who do you think will be the front runner or some of the front runners going into next basketball season?
Um, man, because it's quite a few young teams out there when it comes to it. That's a great. That's actually a great question. I like what my Kentucky team is bringing back. The question is for Michigan, man. I think if Michigan come back, I think if Michigan come back, that'd be a guaranteed top five, if not higher than that. I think that's the team to see what they're gonna do most because you got Golden Wolf and you got Gale that could come back. That's scary, along with what they got in as far as in a recruiting class. And I know we got the portal and all those things, but I've definitely looked at Michigan. And when I seen that they could all come back, minus Donaldson, but what they got coming in, that's different. Um, we know what Duke do when it come to reloading. Texas, if they sensational freshman Trey Johnson, if he stay, I think the scale is only going to get bigger. Of course, Michigan State got another class coming in, so I think a lot of teams got great classes coming in, but definitely Michigan with the class coming in, and if players stay, I think that's something to watch throughout this off season. I think that's the most watch thing right now. Because if Wolf and Golden come back, I think that definitely have Michigan preseason number one. I don't think you can not put them as a preseason with them two coming back.
Yeah, they both should come back for Michigan. They still
Stop
got
them.
unfinished business to take care of.
Yeah.
Uh, and Trey Johnson, he's not participating in anything else, so he's gone.
He,
Yeah, he's gone.
he go.
He's gone. Yeah, yeah. I found that out the other day. So he's out of there. I mean, somebody tell you're gonna be a top 5 pick,
It's over.
you don't go. I
Something
mean,
wrong with you.
you came near the ball. Yeah, yeah. Something wrong with you. Go get that money. Ain't no amount of NIL money should be able to keep you from going to
Yeah,
the NBA if that's your dream, especially.
I
Um,
agree.
Yeah, but I'm anxious to see all this movement that's going to take place because there's going to be a lot
The
of
movement.
movement. And the thing is, as a coach, if you're already done playing ball, you need to be reaching out to guys that's going to be replacing some guys that's going to be losing. You're going to be losing, and if you know you got some guys that's possibly going to hit this portal, you need to be making that thing happen, man. Because there's no way you can compete in this college basketball tournament against teams that can recruit 5 stars every year. Like Duke is gonna get 5 stars every year.
Yeah,
North Carolina gonna get 5 stars every year, even though they were down this year. They're gonna get 5 stars. Teams like that are gonna get top-notch players. So if you're one of those teams like Texas, you gotta fill your roster with good players um, that got a lot of experience, so that you can be relevant in this college basketball game. Because the last 2 seasons, that's what they've had on their teams. They've, no, matter of fact, three. They've had
yeah,
a bunch of guys they've gotten out of the portal because Texas does not recruit at a high level in comparison to the Dukes, the Kentuckys, the North Carolinas, teams like that. They're more like Indiana, you
right.
know. So they got to get it right. Because hopefully Sean Miller is doing his homework and getting that thing together for them.
And I'm looking to see what Ohio State do as well, man.
Yeah,
With this portal, I'm hoping, honestly, that they could get some of these players out this portal and build something nice. I like, a couple players that they got. I think if they get some added pieces to that team, they could definitely make a turnaround. I know that changed things for them years ago, which made them make a different run and things like that. So you never know. Um, I hope they do get Swain. I hope he do come home, play some ball. I know we all would love that for sure. I think that's something that the city need. I think Ohio State needs something like that, man. That'd definitely be big, man, for sure.
yeah, I'd like to see him come too. You were on the show yesterday with us when we talked about um, the collective bargaining agreement that is going to be voted on later on this month, maybe the third week in April. The judge is going to rule on whether or not they're going to allow these NCAA colleges to receive compensation for the money that the revenue that the NCAA brings in. I'm thinking that for the top schools, it's going to be up around 20 million. Now, some of the other ones on the show yesterday, they didn't think it would be up around 20 million. I think it's going to be up around 20 million for schools like Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, schools like that. I think they're going to be getting 20 million out of this deal. And that got to be the number because, like Texas Tech, for instance, is saying 15 million of their money is going to go to their football program, and 5 million is going to go throughout the rest of the sports. But what's your thoughts on that? And do you think that because a lot of teams got 5013C, they got the schools don't have them. They got organizations that raise money for their NIL programs. Do you think that'll stay intact? What's your thoughts on the collective bargaining and if those organizations will still be doing raising money for those college athletes in NIL?
I think overall, I think we all can agree that the NCAA is about done with. Overall, I think when it comes to the money for the schools, 20 million. I think you're right. I think they definitely won't be giving that kind of money to you talking Michigan, Florida State, like you said, Alabama's, Texas, Ohio State. They definitely going to be getting that kind of money. And if you think about it, football season in college football, it don't matter what school you are, man. They up for football. Um, College football is an iconic sport. You talking about what you add in the playoffs. So along with the bargaining agreement, I think they just need to get rid of the NCAA. They need to have the right people at the board doing the right necessary things, taking the right steps with the right people there. Lawyers, handling these things when it comes down to every type of program to prevent some of the things that we may see that'll hurt the athlete in the future. I think this will allow that to be put in place to where it's not money just being pushed to someone and we never know who these people are. Still could happen, but and I think it'll be more people being able to see the faces instead of faces not being seen.
I mean, when you look at it in this totality, you already got the Big Ten and the SEC having meetings already, talking about doing some kind of joint venture going into 2026 where they can get four automatic bids for each conference when it goes to 14 or 16 teams, which I believe is going to 16. I think they're going to bypass 14,
Yeah,
but I could be wrong. So when you see that kind of movement, that forces the Big 12, even though they're saying that they want the Big 12 and the ACC to get two automatic bids in there. Do you think those conferences are not going to be like, listen, no, I want to be at the table too, negotiation for my conference myself?
yeah,
With all of this talk going on with whoever the commissioner of their conference is, you don't need an NCAA. Because what is the NCAA actually doing now? They used to rule on all these infractions that would take place.
yeah,
You, the way things are now with NIL and people transferring, they had no control over that. It happened. They didn't nip it in the bud. They didn't get on top of it. So they really have no stake in the game. What
yeah.
I would do if I was those conferences, I would say, listen, you can have March Madness. That's the only thing you control. You get your money from that. That's it.
That's
The
it.
rest of it, us as conferences, we're gonna govern our own selves. We're gonna make our own rules. We're gonna do all of that and get rid of the NCAA because they're so powerful now. These conferences, especially the SEC and the Big Ten in terms of football, they are so powerful now that man they can call their own shots and they don't need. You don't need the NCAA. The NCAA still has not ruled on Michigan's situation with the guy supposedly stealing signs on the sideline.
What's that? Almost 3 years?
That's ridiculous, man.
That's insane. And then,
When,
like you
when,
said,
when Ohio State did what they did with them guys selling their pants and stuff to get tattoos, they ruled on that stuff with the quickness.
yeah,
These guys have no teeth. They might be a lion, but they don't have no teeth. You might as well let them sip through a straw because they ain't eating no meat.
no meat, not all. They ain't the carnivore type, man, not one bit. And like you said, the Big Ten and SEC, you could put them together and they could run college football probably better than the NCAA running anything moving, including March Madness. Nothing
Yeah,
against March Madness, but I mean, it's the Big Ten and SEC really earning their respect in that way now, man. I mean, you look at a lot of it. All this talk has not just been happening the last year. This has been going on, so they know the possibilities, and I think that's why they keep trying to push it for long it. Because once there's money out on the table, they really not gonna be able to do nothing at that point because they're gonna add to it within those respective conferences and build from there. And we might be looking at two powerhouse conferences along with the other two, but that Big Ten and SEC being the show.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's nothing that they can do. They might, because listen, each conference already got a commissioner. Now you think about the NFL, you think about the NBA, you talk about Major League Baseball, hockey. They got a commissioner, right?
Yeah,
They got a board of people who do whatever they do on there, right? You got general managers. Teams got general managers, bro. Texas got a general manager. You think every team with the caliber of Texas don't have a general manager?
man.
It's becoming almost like a professional sport.
Yeah.
They got everything in place. They do not need the NCAA.
Not
They
one.
don't need it. They
They
don't
can
need it.
have March Madness. That's it. They can have that month. They like, listen, man, y'all can have that month, man. Y'all can make y'all. They can make enough off that because you
Yeah,
talking March Madness. Everything across the world is on an app for everything March Madness. So they getting their revenue shares. Y'all can have that. We got this over here, man. We got this football. It's too much money coming in for y'all to even deal with this. And respectively, they gotta times changing. So you gotta change with the times and adjust. Go ahead and sell that out bring in the money you're gonna bring from giving it up, and let bygones be bygones. You still got March Madness. You never know. You could plan and have a bigger event. You could branch off of your March Madness, have a different madness going on at a time. You see what I'm saying? So selling that off might open the doors up for something that will be better for you in a retrospect of I can't think of the term I'm looking for of move elevating. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, what I'm anxious to see now is in this ruling, if they got something written in this ruling that's going to take place this month on this collective bargaining agreement, if they're going to rule out teams having a 501(c), a nonprofit where they get money from, like I'm gonna use Texas for instance because that's the team that I follow the most and I follow their actions the most. So like they got a Texas One Fund where what they'll do is they'll go to a restaurant and they'll for X amount of percentage of whatever gets sold that day goes into the Texas One Fund. It's a nonprofit organization. If you want to donate to the Texas One Fund, you can do that. And what they do is they use this money to, increase players' NIL packages, right?
Mm.
They also got the Pancake Factory, which is also a 501(c). I hope I'm saying that right. A nonprofit that guarantees that every lineman for Texas, offensively and defensively, if you are on the roster, you get 50 grand every year, right?
Mm.
Are they going to get rid of that portion of it? Because they can't get rid of the portion where you got a guy like Arch Manning getting paid from what's the what's the what's the power drink, Red
Yeah,
Bull.
Red Bull.
You can't stop that. You can't stop them from getting the Lamborghinis because they got a deal with a Lamborghini,
Right.
or they got a deal. What? Who else he with? He with you
He got
Uber.
quite a few.
You got Uber, right? So you can't stop that because they got the right to make that NIL money. But are they
Man,
going to get rid of the nonprofits that are giving money to those players as well? I wonder if they're going to get rid of that.
I say I say if you already got nil deals out there, regardless of what it is, man, I look at it as if these kids are respectively doing what they're supposed to do as a student first and being an athlete, if these people taking their money, they earn hard, they going to watch these kids, grandson. You never know what these kids mean to them. And in Texas, I know, and it's in other cities and states as well. They watch some of these kids grow up doing what they do. And if they doing what they're doing respectively as a student and as an athlete, why not let them get their money? Some of them might not get no nil deals, and it's the only money that they're able to have throughout the time in school. Allow them to do what they do because there is life after football. And if I'm a young kid growing up in this time, I'm gonna be a student first and let my athlete part do the talking because people will spend money on you for your talent. All you got to do is go do what it takes in order to have the right mindset and doing what it takes in life, to know, those thoughts after life. So I'm all for it, man. I don't see why you stop it. Why stop it? Keep the party going.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. We want to thank K&T Good Eats LLC, my man Kevin Bird and his wife. Well, our man Kevin Bird and his wife, who got a
Appreciate
really,
it.
really nice catering business, man. Listen, if you ever get a chance to eat some of those uh, egg rolls they make, vegetarian, and they make the ones with a little bit of meat in them, with the bang bang sauce, bro. Listen, them mugs is banging. So we
Man,
want to thank K&T Goodies LLC. You can reach them at Kevin J Bird on Instagram. Also, his sister owns Social Nutrition, Healthy Sips and Conversation, right there at 3136 South Hamilton Road. You can go in there and get you a NutriShake. You can also get you an energy teas. They also have waffles. They have everything you need that can get your day started off to a really, really good start over there at Social Nutrition, Healthy Sips and Conversation, 3136 South Hamilton Road. And also, my man, young man, The Chief 5991 apparel. He makes shirts. He has his own brand. He has his own line. He travels this country, putting on shows with his apparel. Great young man. Had a great story in a magazine. I got to remember what that magazine is. I got to pull it up so that I can put that on the show next time. You can find him on Instagram at the Chief. 5991 is rolling across the bottom, and also on TikTok at the Chief 911. I mean dot 5991. Let me get that right. But it's scrolling across the bottom so you can get it from there as well. I appreciate you. Peace, Donnell. Peace, post game. I subscribe to your channel. Hopefully, we can get you on the show. Please get your channel active again, man, because I want to see some of that good content that you have. We will definitely support you on this channel the same way you support us on your channel. But as we always say, peace.